Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mainly books about magic, but we're not going to talk about that today. Today, we're going to talk about baseball romances. I've been a baseball fan my entire life and I have followed the game pretty closely. In the past few years, I have learned even more about it by listening to podcasts and following, the game a little more closely to kind of learn more about the game overall rather than just my team. And therefore, this year I am super hyped for baseball to come back, and I'm just really, really excited to see it all, unfold in another season. And I was thinking about it and I was like, let's see if there are some good baseball romances out there. So I found a few, and I'm not sure how many I'm going to get through in this vlog, but I found a few and decided to check it out and see what we got. So I have these. So First Base came from NetGalley and Moonshot came from Kindle Unlimited, but the other three are ones I could borrow from my library. And I'm going to see how many I can get through before the start of the baseball season. This year, the start of the baseball season is a little bit weird because we have a couple of games overseas that I think count for the regular season, but are happening when spring training is still going on. So it's a little weird, but I'm hoping that I can get this out to you on March 28th, which I think is like the official start to the baseball season here in the United States. So yeah, let's jump into it and see how many baseball romances I can find, because the big thing about this is going to be that the romance is good, but also that the baseball is good, because knowing baseball the way I do, loving baseball the way I do, I want the baseball content to be correct and to be a big part of the story, because that's part of the reason I'm reading these. So let's jump into it and see if I can find a good one. So this is another instance where Julie is putting this vlog together and she realizes she doesn't have a description for this book. So in First Base, we are following Maggie and Tommy. Maggie is the team photographer and Tommy is a player that has just been traded to this team, and he sort of has a bad reputation for going out a lot, getting really drunk, kind of just doing all of these things that have splashed him all over the tabloids and made his team look bad. So the team that he got traded to is the last team that will take him, and this is sort of his last chance. When he and Maggie are out at a club for a team event and leave together, very innocently, a photographer snaps a picture of them, and the media team decides that, you know what, this is the only way we're going to salvage this is to make them fake date and make Tommy's image look squeaky clean, because Maggie is just an everyday girl. And then the two of them have to navigate this and possible feelings as well as their pasts in order to get through this, because Tommy wants to save his career and Maggie doesn't want to lose her job. So that's where we start out with this book. Hello, so this is my first update for this vlog. And that is mostly because I've been having terrible allergies all week. Last night, I basically took a bath and went to bed and took some medicine so I could sleep through the night. Today I'm feeling like a total 180. But anyway, tonight I'm giving you my first update on First Base, I think is what it's called. And so far, this is fun. I'm at the 50% mark. I got there right before I started making this pasta salad, which was not too hard. We're having a potluck at work tomorrow, so I made pasta salad, and this is like my overflow bowl that I will keep for me because there was too much to fit in the container I can take to work. Anyway, I am liking this. I'm not loving it. The characters I think are good. They have good chemistry. I don't love all of the thoughts that are going on in Maggie's head, but they're not terrible either. There's obviously some stuff going on in both of their histories that we haven't gotten to yet because it's not that point in the book, but we're close. We keep hinting at it really heavily, but we're in the first half, so I'm ready for the reveals at this point. And the baseball isn't terrible. There's a lot going on that I can believe away. She is in the dugout. She is in the dugout during the games, which in a fictional universe, I can be okay, they had to place her there. And she's not in a camera well like you would be in a normal game. But I also 100% don't know how social media works in the clubhouse. So maybe the team's social media are there. I don't know. I doubt it during games, but I can forgive that a little bit. But then we also have things that are happening
like sort of just at the end of chapters, I've noticed that we'll have this like pivotal scene with them, and then the author just like ends it and she doesn't tell us the outcome of the baseball game, which annoys me. Like, I'd like to know if they won or lost, because I have no sense of how this team is doing in the season. We started on opening day, and now we've gone on a road trip, which I thought was pretty well done. Like, most of the scheduling stuff and the stuff she's talking about as far as timing of games and why they might be canceled or delayed or whatever, all of that is checking out. So I feel like she has a pretty good foundation of baseball, but there's just little tiny things that I'm just sort of like, I don't know about that one. We'll see how the second half goes. I'm not convinced that the thing in Maggie's past can be like scooted past as easily as she's talking about. Like, there was a scene where I was just like, are we just gonna gloss past that? Are we just gonna go past that? So I have a little bit of side eye, but it's also been a fun ride. So I will probably update you again at the end of the book, because this is reading very quickly. I basically read the first 50% in two sittings. So this has been pretty simple. Hopefully finishing it tonight, but we'll see. I have to watch Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour tonight as well. So I have time until then. I need to get a little more cooking done and clean up the kitchen from the mess this made, and then I will sit down and read my Kindle book. So I have recently finished First Base by Ali Weigard, and this is going to end up at like a 3.25 rating for me. It wasn't bad by any means. I had a good time reading it. I enjoyed the main characters, and I think a lot of the baseball was very good. If we're making a scale of how much baseball was in this book, we're gonna hit probably like the middle of the scale, because after the halfway point, baseball dropped off here. We mainly focused on the romance, but the amount of baseball we got in the first half was good, and generally how we talked about baseball and the technicalities of baseball were good. There were a few things I could nitpick, but overall it was good. And I feel like I could say pretty much the same thing about the romance. It was a cozy romance. It was very sweet and felt pretty lighthearted for the most part. There were some things that I didn't like about the way the main character talked about herself or things she mentioned, but overall I thought this was a pretty good romance, and it just kind of fulfilled that light, fluffy feeling that I was looking for. I do think we could have delved deeper into some of the things that were complications in their relationship, both Maggie's grief and Tommy's like substance abuse issues as well as his past, but that wasn't the point of this book. Like, I think pretty clearly the point was for this to be a cozy romance about the two of them, and the point was not to like delve deeper into those things in their past. Like, those things were both present and they talked about them, and they were things that they like explain to one another about their behavior, like things that would affect their behavior or things that were going to affect their relationship, but we didn't dive like really deep into that for the two of them. And like I said, that just wasn't the point. This was supposed to be cozy and fun, and that's what it was, and overall it was a good time. So points for this book were that it was short, sweet, fun time, good baseball knowledge, it was a dual point of view, and overall it was just pretty solid read. So my second book for this vlog is Unwritten Rules by K.D. Casey. This is the one that I saw at a lot of baseball romance, like the top of the list. So I'm really interested to try this one. It is a queer baseball romance about Zach, who he is going to an all-star game at the start of the book, and then when he sits down in the locker room, he realizes he has sat down next to his previous romantic interest, Eugenio, and the two of them make eye contact. And then we flash back a few years to when they met at baseball camp when Zach was still a veteran and Eugenio was a rookie, and the two of them, I believe, are going to have a relationship here, and based on the description, Zach is going to want to hide this relationship and Eugenio does not, so the two of them split, and they haven't seen each other since then, and now they have to deal with being back together. So I think in this flashback part we're going to see that what happens in their relationship.
and then go forward. Zach also uses a hearing aid, and we've had a lot of representation about that so far and discussions about that, so I appreciate that as well in this book. And all of the discussion about baseball has been on point. I mean, all of the cities we've mentioned as baseball cities are real baseball cities, and based on the author's website, she is a baseball enthusiast and romance book writer. So I am thrilled because this should have great baseball content in it. Like, everything so far has been on point. It's been peak amounts of baseball because both of our main characters are baseball players, so we're never away from, you know, the action of the baseball field. So far we have only had Zach's point of view, which is a little bit of a detriment in my opinion. I love to have a dual point of view romance. I'm not saying, I don't know if we will, but based on the description and what we've seen so far, I think it's all going to be from Zach's POV, which is fine, but you know, we'll see. And yeah, so that's my thoughts so far. I'm having a good time so far, and yeah, we're gonna continue on with this and see how it goes. So I'm at the 50% mark of Unwritten Rules by Katie Cassidy, and I love this. This is fantastic. I think this is doing such a good job of all of the things. We've had a little bit of everything so far because we have Zach, who is our main character. He's our point of view character, I should say, and he is really, really scared about what coming out will do to his career. He has formed this relationship with Morales' teammate, and the two of them are, in one timeline, we are seeing their relationship develop, and in the other timeline, we are seeing them at this all-star game when they are, you know, I think it's 3 years in the future where they haven't talked much, but they are in the same space again. Basically, the attraction, the chemistry, it's all still there, and then they have to figure out how they want to move forward. I think the author is doing a good job of handling. No one so far is like demanding anything of anyone. They're just both in this spot where they can't come to an agreement because they have different views about what's going on and like how they want to handle the situation. And then we're also just seeing all of this baseball stuff, which is really fun, and I think the author is doing such a good job of incorporating baseball. Like, most of what we have seen has been spring training stuff, and now we're just going into the main season in the past storyline, and then in the present one we're at the all-star game, which all feels like an all-star game would. So I'm just loving this book. We've had a couple of like sexy scenes, and they have been really good, and I love it. Like, I really loved how we were in the sort of like future timeline. It's like past and present, I guess. So the present timeline at the all-star game, and just all of these feelings that Zach is navigating, and how the two of them are communicating, but also like not, like there's a lot of things that they're like, you know, trying to figure out. And I'm just so much more invested in this one than I was with First Base, because I really feel like we are getting so much deeper into all of the issues that are going on with Zach and Morales than we did with Maggie and Tommy. Like, there were deep issues that we could have gotten into, but the cozy romance of it all really glossed over a lot of things that we are diving deeper into here, and I just appreciate that deeper dive. So this is more my style of romance. I do wish we had the other perspective, because I would just love to know what he is thinking, but for Morales, we're really just, I feel like I'm getting what he's thinking in how the author is writing it, so it's not terrible. I'm not missing that other perspective too much. But I don't know if I'm going to finish this today, but I can't stop reading it, even though I should be reading, like, I should be rotating things so that I continue to get through books for other vlogs, but I'm just loving this. This book gets all the points. I'm having the best time because I just read, so I'm trying to get ready to film, and I'm also distracted by this book because I want to finish it, and I'm also on a little bit of a time crunch to get it done. So I'm kind of reading that in between as I make breakfast and stuff, and I got to a chapter where Zach and Hoenyo, and I keep referring to them by different names because, like, Zach is, I think, Glassner, Zach Glasner. So he like goes by Zach and Glasner. And then Eugenio is Morales is his last name. So I keep referring to them interchangeably as that. So because they keep interchanging what they're referring to each other by. But this book is also doing that thing where when they're together, it's first names. And then when they have to be like professional and out in the clubhouse, it's all last names and stuff. So I'm eating that up. And then also the point I'm trying to make here is that as I was reading, I got to a point where they were in Houston for a game, and Zach is a catcher, and he makes a comment about how all of the pitches, like the batters of Houston seem to know what signs he's putting down and what they're gonna like take advantage of that, and he like can't figure out why. And if you don't know, so this book was published in 2021, so it was probably written in like 2019, 2020, and in that time period, so like if it's set in like 2020, 3 years ago is 2017, and in 2017 there was a cheating scandal in baseball that the Houston Astros were found to be cheating and stealing signs in an inappropriate way, and the burn that is in that sentence in this book and how perfect, like this book, the baseball, like that scale I was talking about, the baseball is peak baseball, like perfect references, perfect amounts of baseball, because both of our main characters are baseball players. All of it, the culture, the like travel time, the interactions we're having, the things we're talking about, it's all so good, and I just am so happy with this one. I'm having a great time. I'm not gonna like spoil the book by saying this, but Zach just got traded to the team that's supposed to be my team. Like he's going to the team that's supposed to be my team in the book, and I love it. I love it so much. So I have just finished Unwritten Rules by Katie Casey, and I was going to read a third book for this vlog. I had this one picked out, but I don't think it's fair to any of the other books that I have borrowed or, you know, from KU or whatever, because this was perfect for me. This was perfect. This is a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this to pieces. There's just, I don't know how to tell you that it is so obvious that the author of this book loves and follows and knows baseball, and I had such a good time with this. There's so many subtleties in the book and the way she talks about the different teams and how that relates directly to like actual things that are happening in baseball, actual things people know about these teams. I loved this. The romance was great. I really loved Glasser and Morales the whole time. I thought their conversations about their relationship and Zach being closeted and trying to figure out how and if he wanted to come out were really heartfelt, and I loved that therapy and like counseling was a big portion of this book. We had representation for Zach was Jewish and wore a hearing aid, and both of those things were consistently like part of his life and part of his story throughout the whole book. I really loved that. I had a great time with this. It was so good from both the romance side and the baseball side, and I had a great time. And I don't have anything else to say because I'm just so happy with this one. I really expected that all of the romances that I would read would be like mediocre on the baseball and that the romance would be the main point. And with First Base, that was very true. There was nothing really wrong with what we talked about as far as baseball, but it just wasn't like this one. This one was like baseball was the main part. This baseball was a character in this book more than, you know, even some of the other characters. And I loved this. I would have loved to see even more about this because we sort of end at an ambiguous spot, but I still had a great time. I'm going to read more from this author because I just had such a great time and I can't wait to read more. But yeah, so between the fact that this is a bit of a time crunch, like I'm finishing this book on Monday and I want to put this vlog up on Thursday, so I have just a couple of days to read the other book, and the fact that this one just blew me out of the water about how much I loved it just doesn't feel fair to jump into this one. But I will keep this one on my radar, and like I said, I have a few other ones, including the third book in the Mile High series, which I'm now interested in reading because I've seen that is a baseball romance. So there's more out there, but this is like gonna set the standard for me because this was just so full of baseball. It was a love letter to baseball and romance at the same time, and I just had such a good time with this. So that is it for me today. If you have any thoughts or feelings or want to share anything about the books that I talked about today, please let me know down below. I hope you have a great baseball season if you enjoy the game. I'd love to chat baseball with anybody who wants to venture down into the comments. And that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!